Assalamualaikum dear students. Today we'll be learning persuasive speech skills, but first we must know that what is the meaning of persuasion or persuade. Persuade means to convince someone, means persuade means to convince your listeners, your audience. So why do we need to persuade people? Here, if Mr. A wants to convince Mr. B, so his purpose is to move his own opinion, his behavior, his overall topic to Mr. B. If Mr. A wants to convince or persuade Mr. B for anything that Mr. B has opposite or negative words in his thoughts, then Mr. A will be using the persuasive speech skills. After that, Mr. A can convince Mr. B. Suppose if Mr. B is pessimistic, means he has negative thoughts about anything, and Mr. A has quite pessimistic thoughts, then Mr. A can convince Mr. B by some evidence, by some facts, by some opinions, by his behavior, by so many examples. That's why persuasive speech is known to convince or convincing speech too. Let's learn that what are those all elements or methodology by which we can convince anyone. So, what is a persuasive speech seeks to mean? When you want to or someone wants to convince person or persuade anyone, he needs all these facts. Number one, establish a fact. Mean, suppose if you want to convince anyone, you want to establish anyone, and you need to convince someone, at that time you need to establish a fact. Suppose if Mr. A says tea is good and Mr. B says tea is not good for health, so that time persuasion is allowed, and that time A must be ready to convince Mr. B by showing facts, by showing all his methodology, by showing all his good examples about tea is good. And at the end, Mr. B must know or understand that what is actually tea about, and tea is not good. He said before, but now he will be convinced and he will say that yes, tea is good. The second thing that persuasive speech seeks to, that is called change of belief. Suppose you says it's not wrong to avoid jury duty. When you, Mr. A, wants to convince Mr. B, so that time he will have this authority to change his belief. If he is successful to change the belief of Mr. B, so it means he is using the convincing power. He is using all his techniques to convince Mr. B. And the third biggest thing is called move an audience to act on policy. Suppose if you want to use this technique for underwater funding or explosion should increase, so that time you want your audience to act on a policy. So that time persuasive speech is necessary, or persuasive speech seeks this technique too. So if you want to establish a fact, if you want to change a belief of someone, or if you want to move an audience to act on policy, that this is a policy that you will have to act on this policy. For these three purposes, you can use persuasive speech, and you can write, a research paper topic. So now let's learn that what are those skills by which a person can be convinced or persuaded. So these are various appeals by which a person can be convinced. So what are these appeals? First, let me tell you that these appeals have been made by Aristotle. Okay, so Aristotle has made these three appeals: that pathos, ethos, logos. What are their work on? That when you want to use pathos, ethos, and logos, so pathos show the emotions, medical emotion appeal. And what is the meaning of ethos? Ethos means characteristic or ethics, ethical appeal. And logos means reasoning, mean because it has come out from the word logic. Okay, so if you want to convince anyone, So you can use these three appeals for someone, and these are the appeals of Aristotle that who has made these appeals in his life. So if you want to convince anyone, so you have to use these all techniques for persuading anyone, for convincing any person for your own point of view. So patterns show the emotions, that it is an emotional appeal for someone, and ethos is characteristic or ethical appeal for someone, and logos shows reasoning. Now let's learn all these appeals, and you will be using these appeals for persuading any person. But if you want to use these all techniques, so there are 100% chances to persuade anyone. If you are using your own appeals, so there are less chances to persuade anyone. So these were the techniques which were made by Aristotle, that who was called the person that who used these all techniques to persuade people. Now, what is pathos actually? Pathos is emotional appeal. Means that when you want to use vivid language, good language, okay, polite language, so that time you can use a technique of pathos. And in pathos, what to do? You will have to include your personal language. Mean the language which you have command, you will use those all language for persuading people. And when you are using the pathos, so the time you need specific sites to persuade people. So these are the techniques by which a person can be convinced 100%. The second thing is called ethos. When you want to use the word ethos in your convincing speech or persuading speech, so it means to establish your character and ethics. If you have bad ethics, so you cannot convince the reader or audience. But if you are using the best character or good ethics in front of anyone, so it means there are more chances to be convinced. The second thing, show you're competent to be talking about your topic. When you are not competent to talk about your topic, so how can the person be convinced? Suppose you don't have any knowledge about the thing, but you are using the word and you are arguing with any person, so there are less chances to be defeated. So that's why you must have some knowledge on the topic. The third thing is be sincere and genuine in your delivery. When you are sincere with your words, with your all speech words to the time, and you are using genuine words, genuine techniques, genuine examples. So it means he, the person who is listening to you, who is your audience, can be convinced. The fourth one is called be energetic and enthusiastic in your topic. It is seen that some lazy or sluggish people cannot convince people because their sluggishness affect on the people, and that's why people are not convinced by all lazy, unenergetic, and sluggish people. So be energetic when you are convincing people. Be enthusiastic when you are going to say some words to the people. And number fifth is called prove you are credible voice on your topic. When you have credibility on your topic and when you have good voice pitch, so it must have a good sign, it must have good sign to convince people. But if you are not using these all words, means you have bad credibility, your credibility is worse, so there are less chances to convince people. Now let's see the third one, that's called logos. What is logos? Logos has been come out. Logos has been uh, seen by the word. So when you're using the word logos, it means apply logical reasoning. So something is which is illogical that cannot affect the people, your audience. So what to do? You people will have to use logos, means logical reasoning, and use reasons supported by evidence to explain or justify your topic. Use all those evidence which are 100% true. Don't use all those words which are vague or which are not true. So, which can justify your words. If you're using bad words or if you're using vague or uh, some bad lies, so it means that will affect your topic badly. And take your evidence from your life experiences. Don't take your evidence from the other people's life experiences. They may have some lies. So that's why take your own evidence from your own life experiences, which will be very much effective for people. And when you are using the word logos, by the time you need some evidence from your research, means your research is 100% true. And if your research has some fake and fake news, so that research will be called fake research. So that's why logos demand good research, 100% true research. And the fifth one is called evidence from your people. When you know very well that these person have good credibility in the society, so ask those people or give the evidence of those people that by which people can be convinced very easily. So if you're applying these all rules, these three rules of Aristotle, so there are more chances to convince your audience. Now let's start with how would you introduce and end the speech. So now, when you are using the introduction, in introduction you must be straightforward. Mean in the persuasive presentation, the speaker must be straightforward to the audience. He must not buffer anymore. What is the meaning of buffer? Buffer means don't talk rubbish. Don't use the words of other people. So this thing is mostly seen when you are presenting anything. Be on the topic, be on your words. When you start presentation on the main point, the speaker's research is complete. Means when you're using or starting any topic, so that time the speaker must have good research. And if his research is complete, then he should give his introduction. And the point must be argumentative. In persuasive or convincing speech, it is one of the best points. The point must be argumentative. It means when the point is argumentative, then it can be convincing or persuasive speech. If the point is not argumentative, both have shown their agreement on the same thing. So there is no persuasive, there's no convention, and there's no argumentation. So that's why you must use the topic which must be argumentative. And then it must have opposition. If all of the people, all of the audience agree on your points, so this is not called persuasive topic. Suppose, according to Mr. A, the metal is gold, but B agrees to the point, yes, the metal is gold. So there is no argument, no debate, no competition. But Mr. A says the metal is gold, and the B says no, it is not gold. Okay, so then the argument can start. So this is called introduction. An introduction must be straightforward. Means the speaker must be straightforward in his introduction. Now, what about body points? When you are using persuasive speech, so the body points consist of three main body points. This is called PSB. What is the meaning of PSB? It means problem, solution, benefits. If you're using these three body points, so there are more chances to convince people. But if you are missing one of them or using SBP or BSP, so there are less chances to convince people. Now, body part 1 is actually indicating the problem, and body part 2 will show the solution, and third body part will give benefits. And make sure that when you're presenting these three things, that you are showing problem, solution, benefits. These are the things that you must have knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge about all these words, it means you are using long term. Now body part 1, problem. When you're using persuasive speech, it, it always indicates on retiring core, means that when you are using the word problem, so you must have shown the problem, means you must have shown the bad points about the words which you are defining. Give some bad points in the first body part and must give whole the relevant detail on the thing you object on. Means if you're objecting on thing but you're using the benefits of it, so it is not called problem. Suppose Mr. B is already convinced on something, and you are using or you are buffering or buttering on that thing, so that will not be called problem. If Mr. B is convinced on anything, you must give some bad points. You must start with some bad points on that thing. That is called problem. You will show the problem, that why this thing is bad, why this thing has bad points, and reveal truth. If you are using or revealing the truth on that point, it means that you are using the right way to describe the topic. And don't compare the thing while you are discussing the problem. When you are using the problem, so the time it must be in your mind that don't compare in the very beginning. In problem, you are just allowed to use the problem side. You will not use that thing to compare the things here to there. Because if you're comparing the things, so your problem will not be convinced or your problem will not be solved. Comparison is not allowed in the problem side. When you are using the problem, it means just discuss on the problem, stick on the problem, keep telling him about his problem again and again in the entire discussion so that they must believe on that. When you are using this terminology to see again and again, to keep telling him his problem, it means he will believe on this word that, yeah, this is the problem. But if you have just discussed once and after that you have not used the word again that this is problem, so they will not believe on you. So this is the first part that show the problem. And one thing more that which must be added up in this point, that when you are using the problem, so nothing should be hidden. All the things should be revealed. Now the second part is called solution. What is called solution? When you are using this word PSB, so the second word is called solution. Now this is for the second part. The second part consists of solution. What is the meaning of solution? When you define the problem completely. At the time, now you need to convince him by giving him solution. Suppose when a person goes to doctor, if he consults with doctor, so what does it do? When the problem is given to him that you have this problem, you have this disease. After that, when the doctor gives him solution, if the doctor gives the solution in the very beginning and doesn't tell him that what is your problem, so it will not be called the problem or solution. So first, doctor will tell him that your problem is this, you have this disease. Then he will be thinking about the disease. Then the doctor will give him good solution that will, if you take these pills and medicine, you will be cured. So now this is the second part, that body means second part of the body that will solution. What is solution? That emphasize on solution by collecting some strong facts. If you have a strong facts and you are going to give him, so it means you are giving him good pills to cure. Make his problem weaker and easier by applying your solution. This is the best thing. If you think that his problem is too big, but if you have better solution than his problem, it means the problem will automatically go weaker and easier. So when you're going to give him good solution, but if your solution is less than his problem, so he will have some strong points on objecting on you. And you will not have to give any point on being objected. Grab his problem away by showing your solution. When you are doing this uh, way or this way of using solution, it means that when you are actually taking his problem away or taking him away from the problem. What is this? They grab his problem away by showing your solution. It means you are actually a good doctor to cure him. He must believe on you. And it can be possible when you are giving him good solution by grabbing his problem away. Now the fourth one is called that audience must be convinced by and by. how will they be convinced when you are giving them solutions more than his problem? It means he will have more chances to be convinced. So you have to make him sure to get his own words clearly. You can give him his problem, and after that, if you're giving him his solution by applying the best way, that what is the second part of the body, it means you are the person that who is like an angel to solve his problem. So guys, you people have understood that how would you give solution to the person who is already in problem. If you have convincing power, so apply this rule that first take his problem, and the second part is to give solution, and the third part is very nice and better part of persuasive speech. What is that? That is called give benefits. If you give benefits means that when you have solved the problem of the person, and after that you are giving him solution, and then you are giving him benefits, it is just like that you have taken tea in the hotel, and now you have paid him his bill, and then you are giving him tips. If you are giving him his tip, and then he will be convinced by your this matter. So what is the meaning of benefits? Benefits means after giving him solution, if you are going to show some good benefits of his uh, way, it means that well the audience will be convinced properly. Sometimes the audience keeps questions. Okay, does not matter if they keep questions. Well, it is their right to keep questions in their mind, because if you are not going to ask, or if you are not going to ask any questions to them by them, it means that you are not giving them good solutions or benefits. Show the benefits of your solutions and giving up this problem. When you have told that well you have to persuade the person, so it means you will give him good benefits. Okay, benefits and solution, they both will affect him double. Okay, when they are taking your solution and after then you are giving him benefits, it means that there are more and more chances to be convinced. And the third biggest thing is called solution and benefits. Mean that you have two swords to kill the demon. He had just one and only demon. It was called a problem. And now you have given him solution and benefits. It means that you have two swords to kill the demon. And now it means that when you are giving him benefits, then it means that when you are actually you have taken him away from the problem that first, and then you have cured him, and after that you are giving him your shelter. So benefits means that we're giving him shelter. That how will he or she uh, live? You know that will in the rainy days. Then benefits must be easy to reach, easy to do, easy to apply, easy to set up, easy to take up, easy to solve the problem. In short, as easy as a piece of cake. If you have applied this technique, I personally believe that yeah, the person who has thousand questions in his mind, he he will start believing on you. Why? If you are giving him the tips and benefits which are easy to reach, it means they will be easily convinced. But if you are giving him the tips which are not available in Pakistan or some other countries, but they are available in America or somewhere else, but he is poor, so it is not called easy to reach. It means you are not giving him benefits, you are actually trapping in some other problems. So that's why for giving him benefits mean that well, first thing is to easy to reach. This thing must be, convincible point. Okay, easy to do when the person starts doing that thing, or if he wants to start that business, if he wants to apply that thing, it means that well, that thing must be done very easy. Okay, so benefits. I told you that well, if you are applying these three rules, PSB, then the person, the audience will be convinced easily. I hope that you people have learned these are points. Now let's come to see the conclusion that what will happen when you are have given a good persuasive speech, and after that you want them to be convinced. Will they be convinced or no? You will see the conclusion. First, signal the ending. Must use the word conclusion at the end or at last. If you are not using the word conclusion at the end of your speech, they will be listening to you and they will be thinking to get bored because a person cannot bear you a lot. He will tolerate you for 5 or 10 minutes or 1 hour. But if you're using the word conclusion at the end of your topic, they will understand that yeah, you are going to end your speech now. The second word is called key takeaway, means what is the man's message that you have shown him. In conclusion, you must give him that you have given him or her, you have given your audience a lot of message. But what was the best message that you have given him or her? You will have to show that message in the conclusion. Okay? If you are not showing that message, so the message will be automatically vanished. Okay, so that is not good. You will have to show the same message at the end of your speech in conclusion. The third is called call to action. What is the meaning of that? Call them to sign up, means join the company, buy, shop, accept, confess on your words. If you are using this terminology, yes, call to action means that when you think that your audience is 100% convinced and persuaded, now you will ask them to come toward your company. You will ask them to join your company. You will ask them to accept the fact. You will ask them to confess the words. You will ask them to sign up on your website. Okay, so it means they are convinced. But if you're not offering this service to the audience, it means that you have given him each and everything, but not given your address. So call to action means to show your address. Okay. The last one is called clincher. What is the meaning of clincher? It means to end with the story. If you think that well, uh, you have already taken time, so that's why you are not allowed to show him a story because it will be sleepy then find all the audience will be sleepy and you don't want it to be because what to do if you have a really short at most story then tell him if you don't have this story you can end it with a poetry. You can end it with a good quotation. You can tell, that will highly published words of someone. You can tell him, you can convince him by some very good and effective words of some great people. If you have done this, it means that well, you are beginning and your ending were quite strong. And if you think that your beginning was good and ending was not good, then people cannot be convinced. So must apply this rule when you are using the persuasive speech for the audience that your beginning and your end must be convincible. Okay, must be attractive, must be fascinating, must be convincible. So if you're applying this rule, I hope, I personally believe that people who do not act upon the words, people who have some wrong and argumentative words, people who don't believe on you, people who don't want to sign up in your company, they will be convinced if you apply these all rules. So we will be seeing what's more in the same class um, by joining another class, inshallah. Till then, okay. Thank you. Bye bye.